The past 8 years are on track to be the 8th hottest on record. That's one takeaway from the World Meteorological Organization's annual report, which has just been published. It's another stark warning for world leaders at the COP27 summit, stressing the need for less talk and more action on climate change.
2022, another hot year. Indeed, the last 8 years have been the warmest on record, driven by record levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. That's a clear warning, according to the World Climate Report, and the effects are being felt everywhere. Sea levels are rising fast, and the seas themselves are getting hotter. Ice sheets and glaciers are melting, and extreme weather is multiplying around the globe. The seas have risen worldwide by about 10 millimeters in the last 2 years alone. By the end of 2021, worldwide ocean temperatures were at a record high, and marine heat waves are becoming more common. Ice melted from Greenland to the Alps at record levels. Glaciers in some parts of Europe lost 6% of their volume between 2021 and 2022, and polar sea ice fell to its lowest level on record. But most people experience climate change as extreme weather. Much of Europe saw rivers dry up as heat waves persisted, and also caused widespread wildfires. Meanwhile, Pakistan experienced massive flooding that killed over 1,700 people and displaced millions. Years of drought in East Africa have driven almost 20 million people to extreme food insecurity, as hurricanes lashed Cuba and the U.S. state of Florida just months ago. Too hot, too wet, too dry. The climate report says this new normal will only get worse unless governments act fast.
Bavaria's iconic Neuschwanstein Castle is often seen as a symbol of Germany's rich fairy tale tradition, even serving as the inspiration for Disney's iconic fairy tale castle. Now climate activists are using it to send a message to world leaders as the UN's climate conference kicks off. Protesters unfurled a giant banner in front of the historic attraction, calling for an end to what they labelled climate fairy tales. Delegates from over 190 countries are gathering in Egypt right now for the COP27 climate talks. Experts say time is rapidly running out to avoid global catastrophe. Well, Hannah Fisher is a spokesperson for the group that organised the protest, and she joins us now. Welcome to DW. I'd like to start by asking you, what impact do you hope these protest actions, like the one we've seen today, will have on leaders?
Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction, Pablo. I hope you can hear me well. What impact do we hope to have? I mean, why it is super urgent to do whatever we can for getting climate action to actually happen, and not only to listen to fairy tales. Why this is important, you showed us, I think, a second ago. So there is no doubt. COP27 means more than 40 years of climate conferences, 26 times of global decision makers coming together and discussing, making plans, but actually not taking action. This means we have to go to the street, we have to go to find creative forms of expressing our more than concerns, to increase the pressure to global world leaders to actually start action.
Well, what would you like to see the leaders actually agreeing to at COP27?
I mean, we decided to do our action today in front of Castle Neuschwanstein, which you hopefully see right behind me. And why? Because it is an image for fairy tales, but it is also a symbol for actually overconsumption and decadence, let's say. So 100 multinational corporations are responsible for more than 70% of global industrial emissions. Global North's responsibility for the climate catastrophe is totally clear. So, of course, we have to act, and of course, we have to take responsibility.
Do you think Germany
as
has
the global north.
Do you think Germany,
Sorry.
briefly if you could, Germany has an obligation towards developing nations in regards to climate change?
Yes, of course. Germany is an important part of the global north that I just mentioned. So I think a first super important step is actually to cut the, how do you say this in English? The depths, actually, the depth of the global south,
Right.
to cut them and then to considerably invest in finding global solutions.
All right, Hannah Fischer, thank you for joining us on DW.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.